Against all odds, the Callisto Deep Space Research Station hung in Jupiter's orbit like a gleaming silver spider, its numerous observation arrays stretched outward, always listening, always watching. Dr. Elena Reyes stood at the main viewport, her dark eyes fixed on the endless expanse beyond the gas giant. The station's artificial gravity couldn't quite mask the lightness in her steps as she moved from one console to another, checking readings that had kept her awake for 3 consecutive shifts. "There it is again," she murmured, tapping the screen where a faint energy signature pulsed in deep space, far beyond Neptune's orbit. "Computer, enhance grid 27 alpha." The holographic display zoomed in, revealing what looked like a massive structure drifting at the edge of the solar system. It shouldn't be there. Nothing that size could have escaped detection until now. Commander Jackson entered the observation deck, his weathered face betraying concern. "Elena, we've got a transmission from Central. Apparently, we have visitors." Elena barely acknowledged him, her attention fixed on the readings. "Visitors? We're not scheduled for supply runs for another 3 weeks." "Not our kind of visitors," Jackson replied grimly. "Galactic Council representatives. 3 ships just passed Mars' orbit." That got her attention. The Galactic Council rarely concerned themselves with humanity's provincial activities, as they called them. Humanity had only gained associate status in the Council 50 years ago, after proving they could achieve stable, faster-than-light travel without destroying half their solar system. Even then, the older species treated humans like precocious children, tolerated but not truly respected. "What do they want?" Elena asked, though a sinking feeling in her stomach told her she already knew. "They didn't say, but they're requesting immediate cessation of all deep space scans in this sector." Jackson looked meaningfully at her screen. Elena quickly saved her data and locked her terminal. The Council couldn't know what she'd found. Not yet. The Council delegation arrived with the typical pomp their kind preferred. 3 different species, all from the highest echelons of galactic society. The Ardari ambassador, Zivtal, led the group, his crystalline exoskeleton catching the station's lights and fracturing them into rainbow patterns across the conference room walls. Dr. Reyes, Zivtal's translation device, rendered his clicking speech into flat English. "Your research station has been conducting unauthorized scans of Sector 219G. Elena maintained her professional smile. "We're simply mapping the outer boundaries of our system, Ambassador. Standard procedure for any associate member, as outlined in Section 42 of the membership charter." "Not in that sector." The Novan representative, a gelatinous being contained within an environmental suit, pulsed with angry red lights. "Sector 219, he is restricted by special ordinance. All scans are to cease immediately." Elena exchanged glances with Commander Jackson. There had been no mention of any restricted sectors in their charter. "May I ask why?" Elena ventured. "Our scans have detected what appears to be an artificial structure in that region. If there's a potential first contact situation." "There is no structure," Zivtal interrupted, his crystalline limbs clicking together in agitation. "Your instruments are faulty. The sector is restricted due to dangerous spatial anomalies. For your own safety, all scans and exploration in that direction are forbidden." Later, after the Council representatives had departed with assurances that the humans would comply, Elena gathered her most trusted colleagues in the station's secure lab. She uploaded her findings to the main display. "They're lying," she said without preamble. "Look at these readings. This is no spatial anomaly. This is a constructed object, approximately 16 kilometers in length. And these energy signatures, they're artificial but dormant, like something waiting to be activated." "But why would the Council lie about it?" asked Dr. Hiroshi Takeda, the station's xenotechnology specialist. "If it's a first contact opportunity." "Because they're afraid," Elena said, enhancing the image further. "Look at the design elements. They don't match any known Council species construction patterns. And the material composition. It's unlike anything in the Council database. So what are you suggesting? Commander Jackson asked, though his tone suggested he already knew the answer and didn't like it. Elena took a deep breath. I'm suggesting we investigate anyway. Quietly. The room fell silent. That's a direct violation of Council directives, Jackson said finally. They could revoke our associate status. Hell, they could place sanctions on the entire solar system. Only if they catch us, Elena replied. And only if what we find isn't worth the risk. Over the next 2 weeks, Elena assembled a team, not from the station personnel, who would be the first suspects if the Council returned, but from specialists across the solar system who owed her favors or shared her frustration with the Council's restrictions on human scientific advancement. Dr. Takeda agreed to join, bringing his expertise in reverse engineering alien technology. They also recruited Captain Maya Okonkwo, a former military pilot whose small transport ship, the Horizon, had been modified for stealth operations during the Mars Rebellion. Completing the team were twins Sven and Sarah Erickson, engineers whose unorthodox approach to quantum mechanics had made them pariahs in academic circles, but geniuses at solving impossible problems. They departed from a small asteroid mining outpost, rather than the Callisto station, using a routine ore shipment as cover. The Horizon wasn't built for comfort, but its compact design and upgraded engines would get them to the mysterious structure in just under 3 weeks, assuming they could avoid Council patrols. We're being idiots, you know that, right? Maya said as they cleared the last tracking buoys at the edge of settled space. If they catch us, best case scenario is we spend the rest of our lives in a prison colony on Europa. And worst case? Sven asked from where he was calibrating the sensor array. Worst case, they decide humans are too reckless to be trusted with interstellar travel and place restrictions on the entire species. Maya replied. No pressure. Elena didn't respond. She was focused on the readings coming in now that they were beyond Council monitoring range. The structure was more defined now, a massive, elongated object with what appeared to be various extensions protruding from its central mass. It looks like a key, Sarah observed, looking over Elena's shoulder. A giant space key. The question is, what does it unlock? Elena murmured. As they approached the structure after 19 tense days of travel, the scale of it became apparent. It dwarfed their ship, stretching so far that they couldn't see its entirety from their approach vector. Material analysis confirms it's not made from any alloy in our database, Takeda reported, and the energy signatures are unlike anything I've encountered. They're pure, somehow, efficient beyond our engineering capabilities. Life signs? Elena asked. None that our sensors can detect, but there are power signatures consistent with automated systems in standby mode. Elena made the decision. Take us in closer. Look for an entry point. They spent 2 days circumnavigating the massive structure before finding what appeared to be a docking mechanism, a recessed area with geometric patterns that seemed to respond to their ship's scanning beams. It's activating. Sarah warned as lights began to illuminate along the structure's surface. Something's happening. Before they could react, a beam of energy enveloped their ship. There was no sensation of movement, but suddenly they were inside the structure, their ship nestled in a cavernous docking bay that could have held a vessel 100 times their size. Well, Maya said, breaking the stunned silence. I guess it wanted us to come in. The air inside the structure was breathable, though tinged with a metallic scent that suggested ancient recycling systems. The gravity was slightly stronger than Earth standard, making every step an effort as they explored the massive corridors. These markings, Takeda said, examining symbols etched into the walls. They're not just decorative. I think they're instructions. Can you decipher them? Elena asked. Not yet, but give me time. They ventured deeper into the structure, finding vast chambers filled with machinery beyond human understanding. In what appeared to be a central control room, Elena discovered a terminal that activated at her approach, projecting holographic displays that shifted and changed as if trying to communicate. It's responding to our presence, she realized. It knows we're here. But what is it? Jackson asked. A ship. A station. Before anyone could answer, the entire structure shuddered. Lights that had been dormant for who knew how long began to illuminate throughout the control room. Something's happening, Sarah warned, checking readings on her portable scanner. Power levels are rising throughout the structure. A holographic image materialized in the center of the room, a three-dimensional map of the galaxy, with certain star systems highlighted in pulsing red. Earth's solar system was marked with a bright blue indicator. "It's showing us something," Elena whispered, approaching the hologram. "Some kind of warning." The structure shuddered again, more violently this time. Alarm klaxons began to sound, not human alarms, but deep, resonant tones that seemed to vibrate through their bones. "We need to get back to the ship," Maya urged. "Whatever this thing is, it's waking up." "No," Elena said, transfixed by the hologram. "Don't you see? This is what the Council was afraid of. This is what they didn't want us to find." As if responding to her realization, the hologram zoomed in on Earth's solar system. A countdown appeared, displayed in those same alien symbols Takeda had been studying. "Elena," Takeda said, his voice tight with urgency, "I can read enough of this now. It's counting down to something. And whatever it is, it happens in less than 60 hours. The awakening." Deep within the ancient structure, Elena and her team worked frantically to understand what they had awakened. Takeda had managed to interface their systems with the alien technology, translating enough of the strange symbols to grasp the basics of its purpose. "It's a warning system," he explained, pointing to the holographic display where red indicators pulsed across the galaxy map. "From what I can tell, it was built by a species that called themselves the Architects. They're gone now." "Gone where?" Elena asked, not looking up from the console where she was analyzing energy flows through the structure. "Gone as in extinct," Takeda clarified grimly. "According to these records, they were wiped out approximately 3 million years ago, but they left behind this network of installations throughout the galaxy." "But what's the warning for?" Commander Jackson pressed. "What happens when that countdown reaches 0? The answer came from Sarah, who had been deep in the structure's engine rooms with her brother. "It's a shield," she said, entering the control center with grease smudged across her face. "Or it was supposed to be. This entire installation is part of a galactic defense network designed to protect against something the Architects called the Devourers." "The what?" Maya asked, looking up from the ship systems she'd been monitoring. "Some kind of cosmic predator," Sarah explained. "From what Sven and I could piece together, they're entities that exist partly in our dimension and partly in another. They feed on stars, drain them of energy until they collapse. The Architects built this network to detect and repel them." "And one is coming," Elena realized, looking at the countdown. "That's what this is warning us about." "But why would the Council hide this?" Jackson wondered. Surely defending against a star-eating entity would be in everyone's interest. Elena's expression darkened. "Unless they've made a deal." The theory crystallized as she spoke it aloud. What if the older Council species discovered this network long ago and realized what it was for? But instead of activating it, they made some kind of arrangement with these Devourers. Sacrifice younger species stars to protect their own. "That's monstrous," Maya said, but her voice lacked conviction. After decades of Council politics, nothing seemed beyond possibility. "We need to activate the defense system," Elena decided. "If this installation is part of a network, we need to bring it fully online before that countdown reaches 0. They split into teams, working day and night to understand the ancient technology. Sven and Sarah focused on the power systems, attempting to restore full functionality to mechanisms that had lain dormant for millions of years. Takeda and Elena tackled the control systems, learning the interface through trial and error. "There's something strange about these controls," Elena noted on their second day inside the structure. There, it's hard to explain. They feel like they're testing us. Testing us how? Takeda asked. It's as if each system we activate requires us to solve a problem first, not just pushing buttons, but demonstrating understanding. Their breakthrough came 40 hours into the countdown, when Elena realized the architects hadn't designed the system to respond to technical expertise alone. It's measuring our determination, she said, watching as a previously locked system opened in response to their repeated attempts. It wants to know if we're committed to this cause, if we'll persevere. Makes sense, Jackson nodded. If you're building a defense system to outlast your own extinction, you'd want to make sure whoever found it was worthy of using it. Just as they were making real progress, their proximity alarms triggered. Council ships had arrived. They'd found us, Maya reported from the ship's sensors. 3 enforcement vessels, heavy class. They're ordering us to surrender the structure and prepare for boarding. How did they find us? Sven demanded. Does it matter? Elena replied. We have 20 hours left on that countdown. We need to complete the activation before they stop us. They worked with renewed urgency, Elena and Takeda racing to complete the control system activation, while the others prepared defensive measures. The structure itself seemed to respond to their desperation, systems coming online faster as the countdown ticked away. They're sending boarding parties, Maya warned. Multiple shuttles approaching different entry points. Seal the inner doors, Elena ordered. Route all auxiliary power to the security systems. To their surprise, the structure responded to her commands, massive bulkheads sliding into place throughout the installation. The ancient defense mechanisms weren't designed for this purpose, but they served well enough to slow the Council forces. 16 hours remained when the first Council enforcers breached their perimeter. Led by Zivtal himself, they stormed into the outer chambers, armed with weapons designed to incapacitate but not kill. The Council preferred captives to corpses. You don't understand what you're doing, Elena tried to explain when Zivtal's forces finally cornered them in the central control chamber. This installation is a defense system. Something is coming, something that feeds on stars. We need to activate this to protect everyone. We understand perfectly, Zivtal replied, his crystalline form shimmering with anger. You humans always think you know better, always rushing in where wiser species fear to tread. Then you do know, Elena realized. You know what's coming. The balance must be maintained, the Novan representative intoned from behind Zivtal. The Devourers take what they are promised, and leave the rest. That is the arrangement. You're sacrificing our star, Jackson said in horror. Earth's sun is the target. One sun from a primitive species in exchange for the safety of 1,000 more advanced worlds, Zivtal stated. The calculus is simple. Not to us, Elena replied, and nodded to Sarah. The twins had anticipated this confrontation and prepared accordingly. Sarah activated a sequence they had discovered within the structure's systems, not a weapon, but something more profound. The entire chamber was suddenly bathed in light as a holographic display activated, showing not just their galaxy, but hundreds of others beyond. What is this? Zivtal demanded. The truth, Elena said. This isn't just about one devourer. They're multiplying. Your arrangement buys you time, but eventually, they'll consume everything. The architects knew this. That's why they built this network, to end the threat permanently, not postpone it. The hologram showed the progression. Centuries of feeding, stars blinking out one by one as the entities grew in number and strength. The architects didn't just build a shield, Elena continued. They built a trap. This entire network is designed to draw in the Devourers and then seal them away in a pocket dimension. But it needs to be activated by beings who won't compromise, who won't sacrifice others to save themselves. The structure shuddered again, more violently than before. But this time, Elena understood it wasn't a warning. It was responding to human resolve. Throughout the installation, systems were activating, responding not to technical mastery, but to the uncompromising determination the humans had demonstrated. Stop them. Zivtal ordered his forces, but it was too late. The countdown reached 0, and for a moment, everything went still. Then, beyond the structure's viewports, space itself seemed to fold. A darkness appeared, not the absence of light, but something more fundamental, as if reality itself was being punctured. The devourer, Takeda whispered. The entity was vast and incomprehensible, a shifting mass of darkness that seemed to absorb not just light, but the very fabric of space around it. It approached the solar system, drawn inexorably toward Earth's sun. But as it neared, the ancient installation fully activated. Beams of energy shot out from the structure, connecting with other points of light that suddenly appeared throughout the solar system, other installations that had lain dormant, waiting for this moment. Together, they created a web of energy that surrounded the devourer. The entity struggled against the containment, its form writhing in what might have been rage or pain. "It's working," Elena breathed, watching as the trap closed. The devourer collapsed in on itself, drawn into a dimensional rift created by the combined energy of the installations. In a final flash of light, it vanished, sealed away as the architects had intended millions of years ago. In the silence that followed, council enforcers and humans alike stood transfixed by what they had witnessed. "This changes everything," Zivtal said finally, his translation device unable to mask the awe in his voice. "Yes," Elena agreed. "It does." In the days that followed, word spread throughout council space of what had occurred. The older species could no longer hide the truth, the arrangement they had made, the sacrifices they had planned. More importantly, they could not deny that humans, the species they had dismissed as primitive and reckless, had succeeded where they had failed. The ancient network, now fully awakened, began identifying and trapping devourers throughout the galaxy. Each capture strengthened the containment, ensuring that the threat diminished rather than grew. 6 months after their discovery, Elena stood before the full Galactic Council, not as a criminal, but as Earth's newly appointed ambassador. "Humanity has proven itself," the Council elder acknowledged, "not through military might or technological advancement, but through unwavering determination and moral courage. These are qualities we have forgotten to value." Earth was granted full membership in the Council, with special responsibility for maintaining and expanding the Architect network. The structure that Elena and her team had discovered became known as the Keystone, the first of many such installations that humans would help activate across the galaxy. "They said it couldn't be done," Elena remarked to Takeda as they stood on the observation deck of the Keystone, now permanently staffed by a joint Human Council research team. "They said we were too reckless, too impulsive." "Perhaps that's exactly what was needed," Takeda replied, watching as another devourer was drawn into the trap. "Sometimes the impossible just needs someone stubborn enough to try." As they watched the containment field strengthen with each new capture, Elena couldn't help but think of the architects, a species long extinct, but whose legacy lived on. They had built their network not just with technology, but with an understanding of what truly mattered, the willingness to stand against darkness, no matter the cost. In this, at least, humans had proven worthy successors.